Hello, bonjour. Welcome back to another episode of HomeCookin. You got the blessed one over here on this side, and on the other side you have the chef. Chef Alan, how are you doing today?
Hey man, we're trying to make the most of what we got.
Hey, I dig it. Why don't you tell everybody what's on the menu for today?
Yeah, so on our episode for today, we got a couple sports topics that are gonna come at you pretty fast, and we're gonna touch on one of the big trades in the NBA that just happened not too long ago, and Russell Westbrook going to the Washington Wizards in exchange for Mr. John Wall. And yeah, we're also gonna touch on MVPs for candidates for the NFL. And I know, Bleska, you're probably pretty biased on this sense when we looked at that one graphic talking about either if it's a two-horse race between Mahomes or Rodgers. So,
yeah, I might have my preconceived notions of who should be MVP, but it might be a little tighter than you think in my head. But yeah, why don't you fill us in on the first segment and Mr. Westbrook no longer number 0, number 4. It's gonna be weird, but he gets sent over to Washington in the Eastern Conference. Are they running away from LeBron? We never know. But yeah, why don't you fill us in on what you think about this?
Yeah, so to be honest, I feel as though the trade of Westbrook to the Eastern Conference is better for him, like personally. He goes to a weaker conference, like for the past couple of years. There's not that many established point guards that could take his position if he wanted to make the All-Star team in that conference. But I just don't see the trade as being a good fit in general because, for either side, because you're putting Russell Westbrook on a team with a ball-dominant guard who needs to be effective. Bradley Beal, he obviously can play off ball because he showed it when he was with John Wall. But since John Wall has been gone, you've seen Bradley Beal put up these huge numbers. And Russell Westbrook, he has like all-time great levels of usage. And it's going to be hard for him to kind of defer unless he takes the alpha dog role from Bradley Beal, which I don't know if he'll be able to like accept. But that's a really good backcourt for the Eastern Conference. I really expect the team to make a push and maybe break in the top 5 in the conference. But Russell Westbrook, he's a little bit up there in age too, but he's still putting up stats, and you can't go wrong with that.
You know what? I see where you're coming from, but I gotta disagree. I think it's a way better fit for Westbrook going into leaving Harden. James Harden as used as Russell Westbrook, especially since he led the league in assists a couple of years ago, and then he transitions those assists into just more shots nowadays. So the Houston Rockets were one of the worst teams to watch last year. I watched a couple games, because I transferred over to Westbrook because I've been supporting him for a long time. Back to those OKC days before Kevin Durant did that thing that we won't talk about today. Slither, cupcake. But yeah, sure. I do believe that this is a different type of energy for him. He goes from a ball dominant player in non-John Wall, James Harden, to Bradley Beal, who can play off the ball. He can, although he has been become as the alpha dog in Washington. I don't think those two will clash heads. I think they're more fit because like Bradley Beal could play like a Klay Thompson per se, 1-2 dribbles, and he's gonna play off screens, and at the same time, it just gives Westbrook the ability to be a pass first point guard, which he has been. He's led the league in assists like 2 years straight, and during those triple double runs, like that's his game. It's a bread and butter because he's been so athletic. But I still think he's gonna need to figure out some of the kinks in his game, especially from beyond the arc, especially if they think they're going to be able to crack those playoff spots, because a lot of teams reloaded this year. A lot of teams reloaded in the offseason, just like the Hawks. They were trying to get Trae Young some pieces over there to build something. But
that's a good team. Yeah.
I would say they could coexist together. I think Bradley Beal is hungry. I think Russell Westbrook brings a different type of energy to the Wizards. And although it's kind of like a ladder remove for both of them, I feel like Houston at least gets a first round pick out of it. And John Wall coming off that injury, what do you think it means for them?
Yeah, so like we don't know what to expect from John Wall. He hasn't played in almost 2 years now, and he's coming off an injury that, like, the Achilles injury, and obviously he had some complications throughout his recovery process, and he's a player that relied on his speed to be effective, right? You remember coming out of Kentucky, John Wall was killing it. You know, they were like saying how he's got the wheels for days. You know, he'll blaze past you, but he's over 30. He's pushing it when it comes to like how much physical tools you can rely on. He wasn't always the most, like, he wasn't a sharp shooter, right? Like the way he made his bread and butter was relying on speed, kicking it out to the shooters, or kind of like they have a similar game to Westbrook, but he was more of a pass point guard. And in the NBA today, it's pretty important to have that one good playmaker. But there's a lot of skill overlap between him and Harden. And the biggest thing is, you know, Harden, he wants the ball, right? And he's not going to share it too much. And I feel like Houston, obviously they're in a bit of a rebuild, like with Daryl Morey leaving, and there's a change in philosophy and leadership, even with like Mike D'Antoni getting the cut. But dude, look at it. I feel like the Houston Rockets are just repeating history again. Like Chris Paul, pass first point guard, didn't really work out with Harden. Harden gets, like you said, you know, like he gets his best buddy in Russell Westbrook trying to bring up that OKC magic. Doesn't work. And now you have John Wall, who's a similar type of player. He needs the ball to be effective, because John Wall is not a spot-up shooter, man. There's literally no way you're going to... You put players in positions to succeed, and you play with their skill set. But, I mean, John Wall in that area, it's going to be awkward. And you already know, like, Harden doesn't really want to be there.
So. Yeah, especially Harden. You see all the reports right now of his top picks, all in the Eastern Conference. Miami, the Bucks, the Sixers, and they're probably anticipating that. The Nets. But KD said that he's not thinking about James Harden. So,
oh really?
But anyways, Houston, they got Marcus Cousins. I guess they were trying to cook up a little bit of that Kentucky Wildcat, John Calipari magic again, but might not go as the same in red, you know, especially with the way the Western Conference is going. But I guess that's where that blanket comes in, that first round draft pick. Hopefully he can cook something up afterwards. But yeah, I still think the Wizards win that trade because it gives Bradley Beal like at least an appetizer per se. You know, he doesn't have to wait for John Wall to be fully healed, because I feel like Houston aren't going to rush him to come back, especially if they lose Harden. So having Westbrook here come in ball ready, and you see how he's already affecting their team. Like you see, like Rui Hachimura even said that one practice, and Westbrook already like changed the energy, the vibe of the locker room, and that's something that goes a long way. Like as an intangible that Westbrook does, he's a spark plug no matter what way you look at it. And although that's one of the aspects of this game that I wish that he bring down just a little bit, like show less emotion, like he did against the Lakers. Like he was a emotional wreck in my eyes. Like, but yeah, I just want him to just be more consistent from three, less emotion, and just lead the young man. Because with a ball pass first point guard like Westbrook, you got Bradley Beal on the exterior, and it's just gonna push Rui's their expected progress. Playing with good players is going to do that for you. And so if you were to give him a spot in the Eastern Conference playoffs, where would you see them?
For the Wizards?
Yeah, for the Wizards.
Yeah, no, I think I'm going with my initial prediction, man. I think they're going to be, I think they make top 5, I would say, maybe top 6 at worst. But yeah, they're not dethroning the Bucks for sure. The Nets are, if healthy, they got the second position. Heat, I'd still take over. The Washington Wizards aren't actually a very deep team. After Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, it's more of a questionable lineup. Like you have Thomas Bryant, who's like meh. You got Davis Bertans, who's more of just a 3-and-D type of player. But I kind of get that like soft like European vibe from him. Not trying to be
Jeez, you sound like my dad talking about the old Toronto Raptors, where they would just like get the most obscure like European players. Like Garbosa,
yeah,
Calderon, Hito Turkoglu.
Calderon.
Like, it don't matter. We just went international just because we were an international city. But yeah, I agree with you. They're not that deep, and that's where it's tough to give them like a spot beyond like not 5 for you,
6.
But for me, like I want to say 6, but even then, it's just like, man, like you don't know, because there's a lot of teams that like reloaded in the free agency and they're trying to take that step. Yeah, my final thoughts would be that good for Russell Westbrook's career to get out of Houston, that dumpster fire that it is right now. For John Wall, it's tough to say, really. Hopefully Houston, this is kind of like a tank here, so they can reload, maybe get a high draft pick, and they can ease DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall back into playing, because DeMarcus Cousins has not been ready to play ball in very long time. So we'll see where Harden lands, and then I guess it will be clear where their direction is going forward.
Yeah, for sure. And it's going to be an exciting season. We're gonna dissect it when it happens, man. It's coming up soon. So